Hello, this video is to show how much it might cost to live in the San Francisco Bay Area with some details to explain because of course depending on the size of your place and your actual specific location it could vary, right? And I'm doing this video because a friend of mine asked me earlier this year, you have traveled a lot. How do you afford it? Especially when you're already a homeowner and I'm a teacher, so I don't really make that much. One of the ways that I work on finances is to keep track of how much I spend and what I spend it on, and then really be aware and decide whether it's worth it or not. If it's worth it to spend the $50, then I will spend the $50. But if it's not worth it to spend even $5, then let's not spend that $5. And really, that's how I, in particular, save for the things that I like to do, like traveling. Okay, so this is an example of how much it costs to live in the San Francisco Bay Area. This is the year 2024, of course. And this is only housing and other related costs. It doesn't include food or gas or things like that because those are super variable depending on what you do and where you go. Okay, so here are some details. Okay, I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, the East Bay specifically, which is this area right here. Okay. It includes the cities like Oakland. Oakland is the biggest city in the East Bay Area. But it also includes cities like Dublin, Pleasanton, San Ramon, and Livermore, which doesn't show up on the map because those are smaller in comparison to places like Oakland and Berkeley and Fremont. It takes anywhere between 45 to 60 minutes to get into San Francisco proper. Maybe more, maybe less, depending on traffic and exactly where you are, but that's about what it is. Driving, I mean, right? Because you're driving on the freeway. If you take BART or something, it's going to take longer than that. That's the East Bay Area. I have a third floor, 758 square foot, one bed, one bath condo. I purchased it in 2015 on a 30-year mortgage, a standard 30-year mortgage. And back then the interest rate was really, really low. So this interest rate is like between 3% to 4%. Right now it's probably closer to 7 or 8. So I got really lucky with the timing. So timing was also really helpful in terms of being able to afford stuff. Just kind of have to keep an eye on things and keep track, which is why this is really helpful, right? Lots of little different tools to keep track of. Every so often you do this exercise of writing down your costs, and writing it down is really helpful. Okay. The unit comes with a covered parking space, but there are extra uncovered parking spaces around that other people can park. You just need a sticker. There isn't guest parking inside the unit, which is really frustrating for my friends, but that's what it is. The complex was built in the 70s, so it's fairly old. There's 120 units. There's a very small and dirty pool that the HOA doesn't really take care of very well. There's a very, very small gym room where there's like a running machine, a treadmill machine, a step machine, both of which are not working, and then some sort of disc thing. It's smaller than, it's like half the size of a bedroom, so I don't really use that either. There is a pay-per-load laundry room because there isn't a laundry hookup inside the units. Okay. All right, so let's go down to the costs. All right, I'm going to break it down per month because some costs are per month and then some costs are per year. There's a benefit to paying for a whole year, but I'll get to that when we get to that part. Okay, so mortgage first. Mortgage. Per month, I pay $978.10. So per year, that will total $11,737.20. I'm going right down to the cent. It's helpful for me to go right down to the cent because then rounding is helpful, but you in your mind you round anyway because you don't always remember exactly the cent all the time. But when I keep track, I always go right down to the cent because I just want to know where everything goes. Okay. Then I have the HOA, which is probably the next highest cost. This is right now in 2024, it's $521.73. Depends on the unit. Larger units have a higher HOA cost per month. When I first started living here, it was originally closer to like $310 per month. That was at the very, very beginning, way back in 2015. So right now it's definitely increased. So that monthly total for the whole year would be $6,260.76. HOA for the whole year. After HOA, there's utilities. The HOA does pay for water, including hot water, and trash pickup, recycling, that kind of thing, as well as your exterior maintenance. So the only utilities that I really actually pay for is electricity, which is PG&E, and internet. Those are the two costs that I have for utilities. For electricity, it really varies. This past year, in April, I paid $0 because in California, there's a climate credit for your electricity bill. And that month of April, it covered my entire April bill. I did use electricity in April. I just didn't have to pay for it because of the climate credit. And then it can be anywhere to 107.66. This was in September, because September in the California Bay Area is the hottest month of the year, and I ran my air conditioning a lot for my pet chinchilla, who cannot, like, chinchillas have really thick fur and they get heat stroke very easily, so I have to keep my place very, very cool for the chinchilla. It's on the 3rd floor. It gets really hot and stuffy. In September, I basically ran my AC 24/7. And it's a wall unit AC. It's not a central air conditioning. That's why it was so expensive. For the entire year, I totaled it up. For the entire year, that's $525.18, which is approximately like $45 per month. So, like 0 is super low, 107 is super high, in the middle is like 45-ish or so, which kind of makes sense. For internet, I pay $68.72 a month, and that year total comes out to $824.64 a month. It's just the standard home internet. Okay. So now we get to things that you really, really can't avoid, but these are costs that I only pay per year. It's not a monthly thing. You just have to keep in mind that it's going to come up within that year. First thing is property taxes. I pay all at once. Comes in 2 installments. You can pay in 2 installments, but I just do it all at once because I will forget. There's $4,337.46 for this past year of 2024. Okay. I remember my very first year living here, 2015. I didn't have to pay that much property tax. First of all, because the previous owner had already paid half of it. I moved in the middle of the year, and they had already paid the first installment. But that year, 2015, 2016, my first full year of living here, it was more like $2,500 or so for property taxes. So again, like the longer you live in a place, things are going to cost more. Yeah. Last but not least, we have home insurance. You have to have home insurance. It's kind of a car insurance. And I pay all of that all in 1 year as well, with my car insurance. And I actually get a bit of a discount if I pay everything all at once, which is kind of not fair, especially if, like, what if there are people who can't pay it all at once? That kind of sucks. They don't get the discount. And that seems kind of unfair just because I have enough saved over the year to pay all at once. But that's my insurance cost, $561. And there it is. So the grand total right here so far, and I'll say so far because I'm going to tell you a little bit more in a second. This is $2,919.04. I might have added that up wrong, so I'm going to double check right here. 11737.2 plus 6260.76 plus 525.18 plus 824.64 plus 4337.46 plus not this was 2015, plus 561. Oh, that's not the current number. That is a number that I will reveal why it's slightly higher in just a second. Okay, so this particular total right here that you see in the blue so far is $24,246.24. So for the entire year, that would be my housing costs. Now, I'm going to reveal some things that you kind of have to keep in mind. Keep in mind, especially about what your goals are. So this mortgage right here, that's $978.10. That is the bare minimum that I have to pay. It includes interest as well as a little bit into the principal. And that's to pay over remember I have a 30-year loan. But if I want to pay off my mortgage in less than 30 years, I have to put more into the principal. I do put more into the principal. I put an additional, right now, the past year or two, I put an additional $471.90 into the principal. And at this rate, I will pay off my entire mortgage in about, it'll take me a total of 10 to 12 years rather than the full 30. And that saves me like thousands and thousands of dollars of interest. Okay, so because I pay more into the principal, my actual mortgage slash payment is a total of per month. Per month, it's a total of $1,450 even. Let me double check that. Let's see, $471.90 plus $978.10. Yeah, $1,450 even per month. Okay, so that also means per year, it is in reality $17,400 per year. Okay, because I add a little bit of principal. See the difference between the 11,737 to the 17,000, just because I pay so much more into the principal. But I do want to pay off my mortgage earlier, and that is a goal that I want to achieve. So it's worth it to pay that much. HOA also has some things that you need to keep in mind, some hidden costs. I'm going to do this in purple. Okay. So HOA, there's these things called special assessments. And what that means is basically there's something on the exterior or that the HOA takes care of, like the pipe, the pool, the elevator, or the security doors, or whatever. It needs repair. But the HOA doesn't have enough in reserve to pay for it at that time. So then they have to make this special assessment. All the homeowners vote on it. It's basically a yes, but you have two choices of whether to pay it all at once or to pay it in installments. And again, there's this really weird thing that doesn't make sense, and it's so unfair because if you pay it in installments, there's an additional fee, like anywhere like a $25 or like a 10% fee tacked on because you're paying it in installments. But if you pay for it all at once, you don't get that fee. You don't have to pay that fee, which to me seems so unfair because it gives such an edge for the people who are wealthy enough to pay it all at once, and then the people who can't pay it all at once, it's like a extra cost for not being able to pay it all at once. It doesn't make sense to me in terms of being the consumer. I guess for them it makes sense because they have to do extra paperwork every month for the people who are paying installments, but it's not that much. I mean, it's not that hard to keep track of stuff. Like there's already people whose main job at the HOA is to keep track of their finances. Why is there an extra fee when there's already a person being paid to keep track of stuff? I don't know. I don't get it. Somebody explain that to me. But anyway, special assessments. In the 9 years that I have lived here, there has been 3 big special assessments, and there's a 4th one upcoming. Okay. Way back a long ago, there was a $1,200 assessment for the roof. I think that was back in my very first year living here, I think 2016 or so. It kind of shocked me that I had to pay that extra amount and nobody told me about this. Then, like 2 years later, there was another $1,200 for the elevator, repairs to the elevator, and that was like in 2018 or so, 2019. After that, this past year, there was a $2,600 electrical panel. All because my building is so old, the electrical panels inside the units face inside a closet, and apparently that's a fire hazard. And so then that raises the insurance for our HOA, the fire insurance for the HOA. And so then everybody had to redo the electric panel so that it faces outside into an exterior room like a den or the kitchen. And it was $2,600 to get that all figured out. And hopefully the insurance costs are less, and then we won't have an HOA cost raise in the next year, which is undoubtful. I don't know. I doubt that. Because upcoming, this hasn't actually happened yet, but there is a $13,000 special assessment for this wooden walkway on the 2nd and 3rd floors. And this is probably at the end of this year to the beginning of next year that will be officially assessed. Or not assessed by, when I say assessed, I mean like invoiced for the homeowners. So that's upcoming. You can either pay that all at once or in installments. I have to pay this one all in installments. I don't have that much. Well, I can, but I don't want to. First of all, because I'm planning to move out in a couple of years. Once the interest rates are better, I will definitely move out. It's time. So then I'm not going to pay for the whole thing. I'll just let the next owner pay for part of it. Okay. So those are special assessments. They happen every couple of years, depending on how old your units are and what needs to be repaired. And also depending on how well the HOA manages their money. If the HOA manages well and they have enough reserve money to pay for these repairs, then there's no need for special assessments, right? But the HOA is super powerful, and there's a lot of things that are very confusing for the homeowner. Yeah, this part, HOAs, I do not like HOAs. Okay. And then one more thing to consider, and I'm going to use a fun color, pink, because these are more fun things to think about as a homeowner. I don't know, as an adult, it makes me, as younger in college or in my earlier 20s, I didn't find these things very interesting. But now that I'm older, and I actually went through a few of these experiences, it's actually kind of fun to learn about all these different things. And these are different home improvements that you probably will need. There's appliance replacements, remodeling, some updates to certain things to make more efficient, electricity efficient, or water usage efficient, that kind of thing. Just because, it's a house, it gets old, things will break down, it needs repairing. I'm talking about major home improvements. So things like replacing the plunger in your toilet, that's like a $15 thing. It doesn't cost that much. But these are like major things. So first of all, I did pay for an $800 air conditioning unit replacement. The wall unit was already like 15 to 20 years old when I first moved. It wasn't working very well. And so that whole thing just needed to be replaced. It was $800. Totally worth it. I definitely need the AC, especially for my chinchilla. Then I did a $13,000 carpet replacement, and this included removal and installation. Removal and install. They were very good about it. Carpet padding. I have much thicker carpet padding, much thicker carpet. It feels nicer to walk on. It's probably just a smidge quieter for my downstairs neighbor, and so that's totally worth it to do. And that's why it's kind of fun to choose, look at all the different types of carpet and like, oh, that's what it is. Okay. And then I did a $500 microwave replacement. It was also getting old, and my food was getting burnt in weird places, but still cold in other places, and it just wasn't working right. So I got a little bit more efficient and energy efficient microwave that works better. I also replaced my refrigerator. Again, it wasn't keeping things cold, and it was also leaking a little bit, so it was a really old refrigerator. I just replaced that. And I also spent, another $600 on a dishwasher. Okay. All of these things, I just kind of did a little bit at a time. It wasn't like I did all of these all in 1 year. The AC was back in 2016. The carpet was 2017. Microwave was 2018. And then the fridge was 2021 probably. And then the dishwasher was the year after that. So you save up for these things throughout the year. You know that it's coming, and it's better to replace it before it actually fully breaks down, because when it does fully break down, then you don't have that thing to use until the new one arrives, and the new one can take anywhere between, a day or two to 3 weeks, depending on the store, the inventory, whatever. So it's just nice to plan for these things. I am going to try. I have the money saved up, but I don't know exactly when I'm going to do this, because there's a lot more things involved. It's at least going to be $5,000 bath remodel. The flooring, the tub, the vanity, the sink. The sink is like getting the light fixture is definitely rusty. The sink, under the sink, it's leaking a little bit, not enough to make a puddle, but enough to wear away at the vanity. And there's like a rust spot that's kind of like eating away at the vanity, and it's going to start getting to become a hole if I don't replace that or fix that leak. I would love to have a different toilet where it's two buttons, right, where there's like little flush and a big flush, and then I would also like a deeper tub, almost like a Japanese style tub where it's square within the shower, so that I can actually take baths. Right now, the bathtub plug doesn't work. It's like there's a part missing. It came like that, and I don't know how to replace it because the tub is so old. It doesn't have that part. I've looked everywhere for the parts, and nothing fits. And so I think it's just time to replace the whole thing. So there are all the costs. Okay. So these special assessments are things that you kind of have to like be prepared for and save up for. It's almost like you have to prepare yourself and give yourself a buffer of, say, 15%. 15% of your what you pay overall for your other stuff. 15% of this total number here. Just to keep in mind. Okay. Now, this number isn't the actual number that I pay. This $24,000 is not the actual number that I pay for per month. My actual was that $29,919.04. That is my actual